Hello, I am Tato Cat. Welcome to my channel. Today we are playing Cabin Fever. Last episode we learned about Mallory's past, our character's past, and we got close to her. We, made out a little bit, and then she got sick. We don't know what kind of sickness, but we know she's sick. And that's where we left off. Alright, let's continue. I read that line in the last episode. She must have been taking them in secret. But why? For the pain in her leg? Or for some other ailment? An overwhelming sense of frustration washed over me in that moment, and without thinking, my hand squeezed the bottle so tightly that it broke. I threw the broken bottle in the trash and stormed outside to deal with the dead bird's body. It wasn't until evening that Mallory woke up. She started coughing right away, even as she sat up, clutching the blankets close to herself.
Huh? What time is it?
Don't get up, at least not so fast. Let me help you.
I stood in the kitchen, tending the soup that had been keeping warm for hours. Mallory looked around groggily, rubbing her eyes.
But it's nighttime. Why did you let me sleep so long? I only wanted to rest for an hour or so.
That's not what your body wanted. I'm glad you got some rest anyway. It was clearly much needed.
Though I told her not to move yet, she bundled the blankets around her and made her way over to the kitchen.
Hi.
She leaned against the support beam. Her cheeks were still red and her eyelids looked heavy. The way she wrapped the blanket around herself made her resemble a colorful turtle, with her long, slender arms poking out around to hold onto the beam.
How do you feel?
My muscles are a bit achy, but I don't feel cold anymore. I think all the blankets you piled on top of me helped.
I nodded and turned my attention back to the stove. I wanted to ask about the aspirin, but I was nervous.
Wait, are you cooking?
She took a step towards me, trying to peer into the pot, then wobbled and had to return to the support beam. It looked as though she barely had any strength to stand. I bit my tongue, not wanting to be overbearing. I get her to sit back down by offering her some food.
I am. It's ready to eat now. Go have a seat and I'll bring you a bowl.
I half expected her to argue, to insist she could get her own bowl, or that I should sit while she served me, but instead she just backed away and went to sit at the table.
It looks really good. Thank you for making it.
My pleasure. I bet you thought I had no cooking skills. Well, it's finally my time to shine.
She laughed half-heartedly.
I look forward to seeing what you're capable of, cooking senpai.
She just called us senpai. That's unexpected. She folded her blanket neatly over the chair beside her and placed her arms on the table to form a pillow for her head. She sat with her head down until I set the bowl of soup beside her.
Oh, that looks so wonderful.
She leaned over the steaming bowl with her eyes closed, holding back her hair as she breathed in slowly.
I use lots of spices. They make all the difference when flavoring a dish.
I gave her a little wink, and she smiled.
Bon appetit.
We both raised steaming spoonfuls of soup, blowing on them softly, only Mallory's exhalation turned raspy, hitched, and she started to cough. She dropped her spoon back into the bowl and held a hand to her throat. She drew a deep breath, looking dismayed.
I'm so sorry.
Too spicy?
No, I can't. I don't know why.
Mallory tried her best to stifle the coughs with little success. A nervous laugh came out of my mouth.
Those autumn allergies are so annoying, am I right?
She didn't answer. She was breathing very slowly and focusing very hard on bringing a spoonful of soup to her mouth. She slurped it, and honestly, she looked like she wanted to throw up.
That bad?
No,
She was racked with another coughing fit. Her chest seemed to rattle with each breath. I couldn't stand seeing her like this. I went to her, rubbing her back as I pushed a glass of water into her hands.
Here, drink some.
She nodded and clutched the glass hard, trying her best to drink while her chest heaved. A minute later, after she'd managed to take a few sips, she was able to breathe a little more easily.
I'm so sorry. I can't seem to stop.
You don't have to be sorry.
Tears began to roll down her face. They splashed onto the table and into her neglected soup bowl.
What if...
Shh.
More tears dripped from her eyes. More coughs rattled in her chest.
You don't have to worry. Everything will be okay. All you need to do is rest and let me take care of you. This will pass.
I think I maybe just want to lie down.
Okay. I'll help you upstairs to the bed. He'll be extra comfy there.
She gave a small nod. Her eyes were puffy and red as she gathered up her blankets in her arms. We headed for the stairs. I walked with her, taking the steps one at a time and holding her in case she lost her strength. Her skin felt even hotter, burning me even through her sleeve. She needed a fever reducer, that was certain. I made a mental note to check when the new bottle of aspirin I'd ordered would arrive. Once we made it to the upper floor, Mallory pushed me away and started coughing into her blankets, doubling over and trying to muffle the sound of her pain. I unfurled the bed covers and helped her climb in, straightening out her collection of blankets and pulling all the covers up over her.
All these blankets are so heavy. I can barely move.
Good. That means you're tucked in, safe and sound.
I brushed her hair back, tracing the side of her burning face with my fingertips.
I'm going to get you some water and things. And then I'll be back, okay?
I hurried back downstairs and started loading up a tray with water, a few damp face cloths, and her uneaten bowl of soup. I wanted to have it right there beside her in the minute she had an appetite. But of course, that wouldn't be enough. I racked my brain for anything I had in the house to help drive down her fever. Then it hit me. My mother used to talk about the healing properties of basil and garlic. I couldn't quite recall the specifics, but it was something, and I had both of those items growing in my home. I rushed over to the kitchen to fill the kettle with water. While that was coming up to a boil, I darted to the aquaponics room. There were 4 medium-sized basil plants sitting happily under their grow lights, waiting for me to harvest their emerald petals. In that moment, my heart inflated twice its size, full of joy that I might finally be able to do something to help soothe Mallory's pain. I plucked a handful of leaves from all the basil plants, which were different strains, but I didn't think it would matter. Next, I dug up some garlic and extracted a homemade jar of honey that was sitting on the back shelf. Looking around at all the plants and fish, I did one last scan in case there was anything else I could use. On impulse, I spotted a bright red hibiscus flower in bloom and plucked it. The lone flower had an unusually bright color amongst all the other dark leafy greens. Dashing back to the kitchen, I added the garlic, basil, and honey to the boiling water. The concoction probably wouldn't taste very good, but I hoped it would soothe her throat and help with her cough. Delicately, I placed the flower on the tray along with a mug of freshly brewed tea. The smell was overpowering. Maybe she wouldn't be able to smell it. When I got sick, I couldn't even taste anything, let alone smell anything. Food was super gross. Ascending the stairs, I could hear Mallory coughing. She wasn't trying to stifle it anymore. I paused on the steps, waiting for her to finish letting it out. A small groan followed the coughing fit. I climbed the rest of the way up the stairs, plastering what I hoped with an optimistic expression onto my face.
Hey, I'm back. And I brought you your soup, in case you have an appetite. Also, some tea that should help with that cough.
She pulled up the covers close to her face in a poor attempt to hide herself. I rested the tray next to the bed and placed one of the damp cloths on her forehead. In the dim light of the bedside lamp, I could see trickles of sweat on her face, neck, and breasts.
Thank you, but you're doing too much for me.
Please, it doesn't feel like enough. Isn't there anything else I can get for you?
Her expression turned into a perplexed one for a moment. Then she forced a little smile.
Well, now that you mention it, I could use some tissues.
Ah, right. I've got some in this drawer here. Ta-da!
Spirit fingers. She took the pack of tissues and turned her face away, coughing a wet guttural cough.
Why are you so determined to take care of me?
Her gaze was filled with hope and confusion. I took her hand in mine and gave it a small squeeze.
You would do the same for me, wouldn't you?
Her lips parted and eyes opened wide. She gave me a soundless nod of reassurance.
It's a no-brainer. I care about you and want you to feel better. It's as simple as that.
There was a long silence between us then, exchanging our knowing looks with gentle hand squeezes. I thought about the aspirin, the 20 or 30 pills that had disappeared in the space of a few days.
Hey, I found the aspirin bottle, by the way.
She gasped, pulling back her hand from mine to cover her face.
I'm so sorry. I should have said something sooner.
I mean, yeah, you should have. Was it for your leg? To stop it hurting? Or did you know you were developing a fever? You know what? It doesn't matter. I placed an order for more. It should be here tomorrow or the next day, I think. I want you to know that I'm grateful to have you here. And I care about you very much.
Parting her fingers to let her eyes peek through, she slowly lowered her defenses.
I don't want to be sick.
I know.
I don't want you to get sick.
I'm not worried about that.
You can't be near me. You need to stay away.
I stretched out next to her on the bed, my face resting close to hers.
I'm staying right here, by your side, no matter what.
She turned to look at the tray of soup with the water and tea beside it.
What a pretty flower. Where did it come from?
She reached over to gently pick up the scarlet blossom.
From my fish garden, or whatever you called it. It must have opened up today. I don't remember seeing it when I fed the fish yesterday.
It's beautiful. What type of flower is it?
A hibiscus. They only bloom for a short while, so we're lucky we got to see it.
She lay there with her eyes closed, with the flower pressed to her nose.
The petals make a wonderful tea. I'll make you some with the other blossoms, if you like.
Mallory opened her eyes, but didn't look at me. She was staring into space, deep in thought.
What is it?
Oh, nothing. The rain sounds nice. I think it's making me sleepy.
I didn't quite believe that. It seemed like there was something she didn't want to say. But I couldn't push her now.
That's perfectly alright. You have sweet dreams now.
Good night.
I lay there watching her breathe, counting the minutes between each coughing fit, resting my hand on her burning chest so I could feel her heartbeat. I had been somewhat like this before. My parents. I had tried my best to care for them when they were sick. I'd been so afraid, but I hadn't gotten sick. A part of me almost wondered, even hoped, that I might be immune. That thought in the back of my mind hadn't eased my fear of strangers, of Mallory when she first appeared in my life. But now I didn't care. Either way, all I wanted was for her to get better. Eventually, I drifted off to sleep too. Chapter 8: Infection. In the dead of night, something woke me up. The sound of wind? An animal? Whatever it was, it had pulled me up out of some dream. I sat up and listened. The night was quiet now. That does not sound quiet. Nothing but crickets and white noise. I realized I really needed to pee. Carefully, so as to not wake Mallory, I got out of bed. I headed downstairs to the bathroom, half asleep in the dark. Once I was done, I went to the kitchen for some water. I stood by the window with my glass, looking out at the sleeping world. I wasn't used to being awake at this hour. It was a little eerie. This looks so pretty right now. Look at all the tiny fairies just moving around our house. They're very active at night as well as in the day. This is just like a really nice night scene. I glanced up at the dark loft where Mallory slept. For a while her coughing had kept her and me awake, but I rubbed her back until we both drifted off. Thankfully, she was sleeping peacefully now, getting the rest she needed. Worry made my stomach feel sick and my chest feel hollow.
There's no way I'm getting back to sleep now.
I paced back and forth for a minute, dragging my hands across my face. I needed distraction, something to shut down my brain, or at least get rid of this nervous energy. Shaking my head, I went to my desk and dropped into my chair. Computers were usually pretty distracting. I turned on the monitor and pulled out my keyboard. It was a membrane keyboard, so I didn't have to worry about making too much noise with my typing. There were more emails waiting in my inbox. One was from a colleague who worked out of Vietnam. The time difference would have meant it was late in the afternoon over there, so she was probably wrapping up her work day as I sat there in the darkest hour of night. The subject line read, "Remedy distribution underway." Just reading it made my blood boil. I was so sick of these empty promises, and for what? Read the spam! Always read the spam! I opened the email anyway, thinking maybe I could find whoever started the vile forwarding chain and send them a piece of my mind. But then my curiosity was piqued. The body of the email had a surprising official-looking Global Health Authority logo on its top. There were multiple language options. I scrolled to the appropriate section and started to read.
Public notice. The worldwide distribution of R-Pandavax is underway. Please read on for information on how and where to seek treatment.
R-Pandavax, like red panda? Clever. Sad panda. Clever you are.
Patients who receive R-Pandavax have a 96% chance of recovering, up from the 45% seen with traditional medical intervention. Right, I wish. Our Pandavax rollouts are now taking place with med tents being set up outside major hospital locations in the countries and cities listed below. Symptomatic individuals should visit their nearest med tent as soon as possible for assessment and hospital admission.
Hang on. This couldn't be real, could it? I'm also amused that I got a achievement for constantly reading spam. Spamtastic. I scanned down the list and I saw it. The name of our city.
Is this actually real? Our Pandavax treatment will be administered free of charge with identification requirements relaxed by emergency order. Our Pandavax may also have a preventative effect, and individuals who have not been infected may opt to receive an immunizing dose.
I scrolled up, down, searching the screen for some evidence that was fake, a scam, a lie. I pulled up the internet and searched our Pandavax. At least 100 articles came up, all posted within the last 24 hours. Bulletins from different news sources, statements and from researchers, schedules being shared.
Mallory!
I called up toward the loft, my voice shaking like crazy, my gaze not leaving the screen. I stood up, tremors running through my whole body.
Mallory, it's real! Mallory, we have to go now!
I feel like maybe we shouldn't go now. I was dashing up the stairs, staggering towards the bed, ready to pick her up and carry her out of the cabin if I had to. I couldn't believe this. I couldn't believe our luck. It felt like a dream. Could it really be real? I reached across the bed for her and she wasn't there. Of course she wasn't there. She ran away or something.
Mallory?
Now we have to go run away, run around in the forest at night, and because I moved the stupid bear trap, I'm going to die in the bear trap, or like fall off a cliff, or something stupid, or she's going to get eaten by a bear, something like that. I looked around the dark room wildly.
Mallory!
The cabin remained silent. My heart pounded. Where was she? I raced back down the stairs, calling out again and again as I searched the cabin, throwing open the door to the aquaponics room and the bathroom and the storage room, frantic. Where was she? That's when I noticed something resting on the kitchen table. A small notebook left open. I went over and picked it up. The top page had a note written in purple ink. A lump formed in my throat and my stomach twisted.
We both know I have it. My only hope is that it's not too late. That I haven't passed it to you. Because I want you to carry on with your life. Don't worry about me. I'm going back home to find out what happened to my sister. Whatever the answer is, I'm comforted to know we'll see each other again soon. I hope you know I would have stayed with you forever. But I'm thankful we had the time that we did. Love, Mallory.
I stared at the letter. No, I had only just been laying in the bed next to her. I had only just found out that I might actually be able to help her. And now, she was gone? I crumpled the paper in my hand, forming a tight fist. In that moment, I was ready to put a hole through my wall. My heart was racing. I couldn't think straight.
Damn it!
I had to go after her. She couldn't have made it far, not with her leg, and how sick she was. I was determined to find her, convince her to come back, convince her that we should be together, whatever the circumstances. She needed to know how I felt about her, how much she meant to me. I raced to get dressed, throwing on a sweater and the first pair of pants I found, shoving my feet into some shoes and grabbing the crank-powered flashlight off the side table. There wasn't time to think. I just had to move. I burst through the front door and out onto the porch, nearly tripping down the steps before racing across the muddy lawn, my feet splashing in puddles. I was panting, sprinting almost blindly through the dark in whatever direction I thought Mallory might have gone. I was through the garden, over the hill, and nearing the woods when... I knew it. I knew. Dang it. Suddenly I slammed against the ground. Pain shot through me. It took me a moment to get my bearings and understand what had happened. The trap. How the hell? But no, I'd completely forgotten about moving it. How did I let this happen? I sagged against the ground, gritting my teeth. I couldn't let this slow me down. I gathered the strength to pull myself up and looked back down at my foot. It was my foot that had been caught, and at a strange angle. I could only assume it was because of the way I'd been running so fast, practically flying over the sloping ground. I twisted and reached to release the trap, which took a few tries. Finally, I was able to scramble away and stand up, but the pain in my foot was excruciating. No time to deal with that now. I continued down the path, limping heavily and bleeding into my shoe, calling Mallory's name. As I made my way, I shoved my hand into my sweater pocket and pulled out the flashlight, the same one that had led me to Mallory that first night. Okay, we'll end this episode here. We'll see if stepping into that bear trap gets me killed in the end, or if it's just okay and I'll still be able to find Mallory. If you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe. I am Tato Cat. Have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon.